to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 216 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Ben Tapper, and if you want to know what it's like to die for the truth of chiropractic, stay tuned. All right, we are live. We have the more famous than usual Ben Tapper with us. You've been speaking your voice and your truth in Nebraska at the State Assembly and working towards freedom for not only the chiropractic profession, but freedom for yourself and your family. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about that topic as we have this amazing interview with you and break some digital bread with you. But you are episode 216 of our great podcast called Chiro Hustle. And we're really honored to have you on with us today. I know you just got off of an interview with Andy Wakefield. And, you said just a minute ago about your connections and how you're like, dude, I had like 100 Twitter followers. Now I have like 4,500. And you're like, I just started a Facebook or Instagram page like 4 weeks ago. How many followers do you have now?
Close to 23,000 now.
In 4 weeks. So I know what you're doing is very massive with your voice and your presence, and it's easy to share your story because you're so on purpose. I know chiropractors for a long time, they're like, you got to be on purpose, and that's you, man. So welcome to our show.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and I know that you're doing massive things now, and you're like starting to tell your story more and protect freedom for not only yourself, like I mentioned, but for the chiropractic profession and this medical tyranny that we're experiencing right now. But before we jump into like deeper topics, let's tell your story a bit. And I know you're a second generation chiropractor, but really, could you tell people why you became a chiropractor and what got you into the profession?
Well, my dad practiced for 43 years and up in South Sioux City, Nebraska. And my sister was going to go to chiropractic school, and she's a chiropractor now in Papillion, and her husband's a chiropractor. And before they were in school, we talked about it, and I was actually in business school, and I was going in for business, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go to chiropractic school. I can take over my dad's practice. I'll be an established chiropractor. We have the same last name. His clinic was Tapper Chiropractic Clinic, and I'm like, oh, sweet, I'll take it over, and and it'll be an easy fit. Well, I just didn't really have my head and my heart in the right spot. And I actually quit. I was 2 classes away of entering chiropractic school, and I quit. And to be honest with you, I was kind of like the stereotypical pizza delivery guy. I was a hippie. I just basically dropped out of school, and I was playing guitar all the time. And I just was kind of a bum for a couple of years, and I got a job at a warehouse, and I realized this sucks. I need to go back to finish what I started. I got a book called It Works, and I wrote, basically it's a simple book to write your goals down, what you really want in life. And chiropractic just kept coming up. I wanted to finish what I started. I wanted to be a chiropractor, and I had, basically I aligned with my beliefs and my purpose, and chiropractic just kept just appearing in my heart and my mind, and I wanted to pursue it. And I had a lot of doubt of whether or not I could even finish chiropractic school. I was a terrible student in high school. I had to learn to become a good student. And, but I wrote this goal down of that I need to finish it no matter what. I'm busting my tail off in this warehouse, working this hard. I can work this hard in chiropractic school and get through it. And, and I did. I finished it up, and now I'm practicing. I graduated in 2012 at Palmer and been at the Wellness Point ever since.
Well, congratulations on where you are today. And I know the second part of part 1 of questions that we ask is, what makes you unique in the chiropractic space? I know we covered on that a little bit, but talk to us and our audience about these videos that you've been making and how they've been circulated so quickly, and why it matters to consistently tell the truth that you're doing.
Well, So the videos gained a lot of traction. I think the first one was in August because we had a tyrannical mask mandate being pushed on the city. There was going to be a citation, $100 citation, misdemeanor if you were caught without a mask. And I was kind of hoping I would have gotten one of those citations because I was going to pay it in monopoly money. But the thing is, they were voting. The mayor passed it off to the city council, and I felt convicted. I took my Tuesday afternoon off to go down and speak. And I spoke down there against the mask mandate. And, I had no idea that the video was going to gain the traction it did. I did not do it for that reason. I just went down there to speak against it, and it was recorded, and it went viral. And I would joke with my wife, before this all happened, I would joke and say, hey, my video is going viral. I got 4 shares. And she would laugh, and she's like, that's not viral, and I remember uploading that video from the city council. I uploaded it at like 6 or so p.m. at night. And then within like an hour and a half, it had 500 shares. It was nuts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? And I woke up the next morning and I got all these, I had an unbelievable amount of messages from all over the world. And TikTok, it had 2 million views in 24 hours. And it was just crazy. It was like an attention I've never had before. And it's still coming. All these messages are coming my way. And I have a saying in my office, it's in my dressing room that, BJ Palmer said it. It's like, you never know how far reaching something you may think, say, or do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. How true is that? I like to say I'm just a little BH Tapper at yahoo.com. I'm just a little chiropractor in Omaha, Nebraska. And it's like, if I can speak out and speak truth, so can you. And so can other chiros. And it's like, there's going to be doubt. There's going to be persecution. But you need to stand our ground. And now is the time. And, and it's where we're at. And I just felt convicted to speak the truth. And that's, in these times, if I spoke that a year ago, or if I said those words a year ago or 2 years ago or a year prior, they would have fallen on deaf ears. So why did it happen now? Why did those words go viral now? Because truth is to treason in an empire of lies. And speaking truth in these times is a revolutionary act. So
powerful. So powerful. And coming from a hippie guitar pizza delivery guy working in a shop, 2nd generation chiropractor, and finding some conviction, that's some power, brother.
Right.
Really proud of you for finding your position within what we're going through right now. And, some of the things that they say, like, we're all in this together, it's kind of a cliche statement, but it's true, man. And, your Omaha is our Grand Junction. Our Grand Junction is San Diego. San Diego is Davenport, Iowa. Davenport, Iowa is New York City. And it all loops together. And this truth, when they say it's just the swing state of Iowa, or it's just the California legislation, or it's just the thing happening in New York, or it's the thing happening in Florida. Like, what people don't realize is the thing that happens there happens here. And when it happens here, it happens there. And what's happening in Nebraska with those mask mandates that you spoke up against is happening everywhere. And I had a friend reach out to me this morning telling me that they can't go out in the streets of Rome unless they have a mask on. So what you're talking about is so true. And, we lost Ben. So Ben had a disruption in his internet. We'll see if he comes back in.
Keep an eye out for him.
So the truth is that what Ben did is he went out there and told the truth, and people find that there's lack of truth and transparency in people's agendas and stories. And when you found somebody like Ben Tapper that, quote unquote, went viral with his message, I absolutely understand what he did. And that's why when I reached out to him, he was getting, like he said, so many messages of people that wanted to get him on shows or say, hey, thank you for doing what you did, or just recognizing him for stepping into his story.
That's probably why he's got kicked off blind. Too many people are messaging him.
Yeah, his Twitter feed probably broke his Zoom feed. But we'll hold out for him for a minute and see if we can't get him back on here. I know we have some of you guys on right now that are probably wondering what's going on. And Luke is on the keyboard right now, inviting Ben back onto the show.
His
computer crashed.
We know what that's like.
Too many Twitters. Too many Instagram followers.
So Ben will be with us shortly.
Yeah. So Luke, what do you think about, so far what our conversation is with Ben?
I think we need to go speak at a legislature somewhere and get our videos viral. I think it's good stuff. I think it's powerful that someone with like no online presence can go do something and then just blow up overnight, like actual overnight success. I think that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah. And, I think with what Dr. Ben is saying, he's like, I never anticipated this.
Yeah, there he is.
We got you back, boss.
Okay. I don't see you, but let me see where you at here, fellas. Okay.
We got you. So your computer crashed.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Yes. Sorry about that. It was just like it glitched out. I think Bill Gates was listening in. He probably didn't like what we had to say. So
there's too much truth, brother.
Too much truth. Too much truth for Facebook.
They'll do anything to stop us.
Right.
Shadow banning our messages and fact checkers and all that stuff.
Dude, and it's the censorship is real. And I used to think that was kind of weird or conspiracy when people would say that until it started happening to me. People that would upload my videos, they would get it was decreased distribution, and they would get these notifications. I'm trying to scroll down and show you some of the notifications that I received, just to give you an idea of what's happening. Like one here, if you can see that, page distribution restriction. Your page has reduced distribution. Reduced distribution, account restricted on Facebook. I mean, that's real. The censorship is real. And I love this saying, I don't know who said it, but if you cut out a man's tongue, you don't prove him a liar, but you're fearful of what he might say. Isn't that the truth?
Have you been actually kicked off an interview yet?
That was the first time. Dr. Wakefield's interview was glitching out too. And I got the highest, fastest internet in my office. So I know it's not my connection. I mean, I wanted, when I interviewed Ron Paul, I made sure that I had the fastest internet connection possible. I wanted the best of the best. And so I make sure my signal's strong, and I have a full-time IT guy for me. And it's not like, I don't think it's anything on my end. Maybe I do have a brand new laptop. So maybe my laptop just glitched out on me, and that seemed to be the case. So who knows?
But when people get brand new stuff, it usually works better.
Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
So Luke and I, while you were booted off, I asked Luke what he thought about everything. And we usually never really have too much back and forth banter between he and I, but it gave us a pause while you joined us back up. And he said that it was really interesting to see how you became like an overnight success. And he's like, we need to get on those platforms.
Right. Right. And I'm telling you, man, that's why I say the time is now. And it's very disheartening to see a lot of my colleagues that stand for truth, to speak the truth. They don't necessarily, they understand the chiropractic message, okay? And I think the soil is so rich for the chiropractic message right now, for the seeds of the chiropractic message to be planted. And that's all I was doing. I was bringing a chiropractic message to the people. I didn't maybe I worded it a little bit different, but chiros, our time is now to speak this truth. Your time is now. In Greeley, Colorado, the nursing home people are protesting right now. Enough is enough. They understand that there are prisoners in these nursing homes, and they're supposed to be the most vulnerable. They're in wheelchairs. Old 80, 90-year-old women and men are stuck in these nursing homes, stuck behind glass. They can't even touch, hug, kiss their relatives. And, that to me is absolutely criminal, and it gets my blood boiling. It pisses me off to no end that these people are stuck behind these in these prisons, and they're speaking out. And I'm like, if they're our most vulnerable and they can speak out, so can you, and so can these other chiros. And our time is now. And nothing makes me more fired up when I see these chiros that are supposed to be the leaders in the field. They're wearing the mask. They're the ones that are complying with this nonsense. I got some ridicule from some other colleagues of mine. Most of them I don't even know. They might be friends with me on Facebook. But they don't even know. They don't even really know me. But they screenshotted some of my comments. I was talking to a patient of mine via Facebook, and I said, she asked me, she goes, Dr. Tapper, if I have coronavirus, should I come in and get adjusted? I said, absolutely. I said, come in and get adjusted. It'd be the best thing for you. Well, they screenshotted my comment, and they passed it along all these other chiros, and they're like, I can't believe you would say something like that. And it's terrible. That's where I draw the line. And I said, I just was disheartened because I just can't believe that the people are falling for this propaganda. They're falling for these fear tactics, this fear mongering. And again, it's like Fred Barge said, fear is the fire that fuels the furnace of disease. And we need to be speaking truth into this nonsense. And we don't have a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. And fear is the disease. Fear is the virus. So our time is now. And there's going to be doubt. There's going to be persecution. But if you don't want to be persecuted, then go serve ice cream, because we are going to be persecuted. As chiropractors, you went to chiropractic school, you understand that chiros were arrested. They spent jail time. If you don't believe that, go to Davenport, Iowa, in the museum. You can see all the chiros that spent time behind bars for speaking truth. We need to stand our ground in truth and integrity because we have truth on our side. We are on the right side of history. We're on the right side of truth, and we need to speak our truth. The time is now.
So powerful, man. Like, I mean, out of all the interviews we've ever done, like you give me like a visceral effect when you discuss these topics. And, I worked in a clinic. A lot of people that watch our show knows that I started out working in a CVP office as a traction tech. And then I went out and did a ton of screenings. And then Luke and I made 2 chiropractic films. And now we're at the helm of 800 plus episodes of Chiro Hustle. And as I've gone through this profession, what I realized is the clinic times were probably the most fundamental for me because I worked with patients every day, just like you do. And I got to know people. And one of the things that I always learned while I was working in the office was when somebody would call and say, hey, I can't come in today because I'm not feeling well. What did we always say, Ben?
Get adjusted. It's the best thing for you. You
should come in still. That's not a reason for you to skip your adjustment this week.
Right.
Or that's not a reason for you to not come in today. We all get adjusted here. We have really healthy nervous systems and immune systems. It's okay. Come in when you're not feeling good because we're going to adjust you and it's going to boost your immune system. It's going to help you heal quicker because we're bringing healing properties to your body with the adjustment. So we were trained when people would call and say that we're not coming in today because we don't feel good. Nope. We want you to come in when you don't feel good and when you do feel good.
Amen. Amen. Back in the day, people sought out chiros not just for neck and back pain. They sought them out for systemic disorders, true dysfunction, illness, diseases. Because it's not just, the world, the secular world might not understand the chiropractic message. They try to put us in a little box of neck and back pain. And so many chiros operate in that message. They don't get the message of chiropractic or the chiropractic message. I mean, just look at this study right there. Can you see the study? That study was the facts and figures of the flu back in the Spanish flu by B.J. Palmer, the study they did at Palmer that talked about chiropractic decrease in influenza. Oh my gosh. What in the world chiropractic decreases influenza? And it was chiropractic versus the allopathic realm of dealing with influenza. But chiropractic doesn't treat influenza. It removes blockages, allowing the body to heal and function properly so the body can heal influenza.
And now they're so desperate that they give the damn things away, the flu shots.
Right.
Come to the place where you buy all your other stuff, and we'll give one of those to you for free.
Right. Well, that's the thing. There's kickbacks with these flu shots. You see them everywhere. Get 20% off a gallon and get a flu shot. Or get 20% off your gallon and get transverse myelitis or Guillain-Barré or deafness or otitis media, whatever it may be, or die. I had 2 patients within a week get a flu shot 2 years ago, and they went deaf. They both had tinnitus in their ear within an hour of the flu shot, and the next morning they both woke up with unilateral deafness. And I looked at the flu vaccine insert, 6.1 on the adverse reactions on every vaccine insert. And I read, otitis media deafness, tinnitus, right on the package insert. What do you know? But these gentlemen were, two of the gentlemen, one wasn't as healthy as the other, but one was very much fit in his 70s. He ate well. He got chiropractic care. And he about fell over when he told me he got a flu shot. And then within the day, he was deaf. I mean, but causation is not correlation, so.
Well, when I was young, I grew up in a medical minded family. My mom was, she worked with people that had dementia and Alzheimer's. And I grew up in a family that, it was like okay to get flu shots. Like that's the world I was branded in. And when I was in college, like I thought it was like a good thing to do that. And I think that we have a lot of misinformation out there, and it's dogma to some, but it's truth to others. And then when you finally get this like real case that people that have been injured by this stuff. Yeah, I was going to go to Peru 12 years ago, maybe 13, 14 years ago, I don't know. But one of the things that they say, you should get a vaccine for yellow fever. And it's a 4-part deal. And I've never told the story before on any of our shows, but I got 2 out of the 4-part series. And I was the sickest I've ever been in my entire life, man. And it sucked. It was a month long where I thought I was going to die. And I was bedridden. I sweated every day. It was awful. So when you tell me about this gentleman that became deaf in his ears, I'm sure if you looked at, some of the side effects of the yellow fever vaccine that I'm vaccinated with, you'd be like, holy shit, Jim. Yeah, you basically beat that infection. It was inside of you. And it wasn't that you had it ever before. It wasn't until you got that damn thing that now it's inside of you.
Right. Well, if you look at the physiological effects from a vaccination, it bypasses the way the body was designed, the way the immune system was designed. If you look at immunoglobulin responses, you'll understand that it's ass backwards, the way the immune system operates. We have different immunoglobulins, IgG, IgA, IgM, IgE, and inflammation is an immune response, believe it or not. And the tonsils are the gatekeepers, and the immunoglobulin M is the first to fight. We have IgM, the Marines, the first to fight any bacterial and viral infections. So when you bypass, like I inject in the skin barrier, and I go with a needle and I inject you with a diluted viral vaccine like corona vaccine, that's a viral thing. What happens is you trick the body. And so you don't get an immunoglobulin M, the Marine response. You get what we call like an immunoglobulin E response, which is an inflammatory response. So you get inflammation. And all the CDC and all the other people that promote these will say it takes 2 weeks for your body to develop an immunity to this vaccine. It takes 2 weeks for your body to really recognize it and build up immunity to it. But really what happens is that's a mistruth. And what that really is occurring is an inflammatory response for the first 2 weeks, because your body is smart. It creates an immune response. For 2 weeks, you get that immunoglobulin E or that thing floating around for 2 weeks before IgM is triggered. And that whole time you get a histamine response. And that histamine will open up the blood-brain barrier, allowing the aluminum adjuvants and other garbage to enter the nervous system, causing conditions like deafness, otitis media, Guillain-Barré, transverse myelitis, MS, whatever you name it. It's going to be in there. Demyelination, encephalitis, encephalopathy, all those conditions that are tied with the vaccination because it enters and bypasses the nervous system. And if any physician is going to understand that, it should be a chiropractor. Our job is the restoration and maintenance of the integrity of the nervous system. We should understand conditions and toxicities that affect that nervous system. And vaccines are one of the greatest toxicities to that nervous system.
So earlier you were telling us about your favorite BJ quote and how it's kind of relevant to this spike in popularity that you've recently had. Do you have any other favorite quotes or mantras that keep you fired up?
Well, as of lately, a quote that came by is one of my favorites, but Martin Luther King Jr. stated that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
And so when I speak at these city council meetings, I know that I'm going to get backlash. In fact, within the minute of me sitting down after speaking, I got negative Google reviews. I had 5-star reviews for 9 years of practice, 9 years practice, all 5-star. I had like 130 5-star reviews. Okay. No 1-star negative reviews. I got my first 1-star review. Then a few more came in. I got emails from patients that said, I've abandoned science. It's a shame that I'm down there speaking, yelling at the city councilman. And it's like, when we speak truth and when we stand our ground with integrity in certain situations and we find our purpose and we feel so convicted about it, and when we find something to stand on and something to stand up for, you will face persecution. And we must not fear that persecution. And in fact, my office is busier now than ever before. We had a record week last week. I blew my previous record out by 30%, and it's crazy. I can't even keep up with the patients that we've had because I spoke my ground, and I've lost a lot of patients. So what does that tell you? When you speak truth, you're going to attract like-minded people. It's going to resonate with people, and you're building your tribe. And that's what we did. We spoke out, and that's not the reason why I'm speaking out. I don't do that to gain patients. I just felt convicted to do it, and it just brought us people.
So how do you think the world would change if every person started getting under regular chiropractic care?
Well, I don't know if we can ask the question. I'd like to rephrase it to, what if people understood the chiropractic message? Instead of a message of chiropractic, I think people need to understand the chiropractic message. If people understood the chiropractic message, the world would change. I have a saying in my office that, if you change your thoughts, you change your world. Or your thoughts can change your physiology in a second. And if people understood the chiropractic message, it would change for the better. Okay? I don't need patients. I don't need for these people to come see me, but they need what we have to offer. Okay. I love the book On Fire. John O'Leary's the author, but he was 8 or 9 years old, but he had 3rd-degree burns all over his body. And he is he's on fire. He's for his purpose, and that's his book On Fire. And he says, when you find your purpose, when you find your, the hill that you're willing to die on, you need to speak your truth, because God demands it, your family deserves it, and the people are starving for it. And that's the way I view our chiropractic message. People are out there right now with these masks. They're terrified. They're living in fear. And Fred Bard said, the fear is the fire that fuels the furnace of disease. And fear puts you in a sympathetic overload state, which fear is the virus. Fear is the disease. But we need to stand our ground in this message, that chiropractic message resonates, that your body's ability to heal itself, to overcome these diseases and circumstances like corona baloney, is far greater than Dr. Fauci, Bill Gates has permitted you to believe. You have an immune system, an innate intelligence that's telling your trillions of cells to communicate, your lungs to breathe, your heart to beat. And we think that a mask is more capable of protecting you against the innate intelligence inside the body. Are you kidding me? Your body is a miraculous design, and you were fearfully and wonderfully made. We must not fear viruses and bacteria, and if there's 10 times more bacteria and germs in and on the body than we do cells. We have cells, and so we must not fear the germ theory. B.J. Palmer said if the germ theory were true, no one would be alive to talk about it.
That's an amazing quote and an amazing mantra to live by, and I value what you say so. It's so timely, what you're sharing with us. Like you said, if I'd have shared this story a year ago or 2 years ago, people would not have supported it. And that's kind of how I feel after Luke and I have done thousands at this point, thousands of connections on media with chiropractic messaging. And sometimes I'm wondering, like, when is it going to like break free for us? When are people going to like share our thing 10,000 times, 100,000 times? When is Chiro Hustle going to be something that becomes mainstream and popular, and people can't wait to see what we have to say, the same way that they look at what Del Bigtree has to say, the same way that they look at what Lewis Howes has to say, the same things that they look at like John DeMartini has to say. Like, I know that we will have our time, and that's why we're so consistent with our brand and our messaging. But what you've done impresses the hell out of me, because you had this inside of you all along, and you didn't know what was going to happen, because you told me that story when you felt like it was David versus Goliath, and that you were like ready to go up and have your talk, and you're just making sure that you had your faculties together in order to go deliver that message. And you also said that you had the conviction inside of you to go do that. And I really feel like time is of essence. And, it's not so much about the chiropractic adjustments, it's about the chiropractic mindset. And when people understand the mindset of what chiropractic really stands for, that's when we get this change in culture, this change in society. And it's not so much a change, it's just an empowerment. And that is freedom of fear. And when you don't live in fear, you understand what chiropractic delivers. That you said they try to put chiropractic in this like little enclosure, which is neck pain, back pain, which, obviously chiropractors do a phenomenal job of helping people with those types of things. But if they didn't help people with those types of things, then chiropractic wouldn't help with anything. So knowing that chiropractic helps with those things, there's no one else that can help with those type of conditions as well as chiropractors. And the medical world knows that. And the reason that it works so well is because it turns people's innate back on. And the body doesn't want to be in pain. The body is looking to release that response of pain. So the chiropractor just adjusts the nervous system to allow the body to freely flow the way it's supposed to. And that's really why I fell in love with the chiropractic profession 10 years ago or 12 years ago, because I was like, what do I really believe in 100% that I can dedicate my life to? And I said, you know what? The one thing I can really dedicate my time and energy to is the truth of chiropractic. And that's why we are here today having a conversation with a world changer like yourself. And we're talking about these things. And the next question that we have for you is, where do you see the profession going maybe in 5 years? I know one of the questions we always like to ask in 20 years, but I think we have to be a little bit more timely with what we're going through right now. Where do you see us going as a chiropractic profession and as a chiropractic culture in 5 years?
Well, that's a good question. I think that we are in some interesting times. And I think there's going to be a revolution of our message. I see a revolution occurring now, just with our mindset, with healthcare in general. I believe we're at a crossroads in our healthcare. I think that the allopathic realm is falling apart. I think the generation coming up, they're not going to be so indoctrinated with pharmaceuticals. I think the era of the television, with all these, the pharmaceutical commercials that are being played on the television. I mean, there's 80 drug commercials of every hour in this country. We're one of 2 countries that allows pharmaceutical advertisements on the television. And so that the generations that are up and coming, they're not watching TV. They're not watching all these pharmaceutical commercials. So the pharmaceutical grip, they're losing that grip. So what do they have to do? They have to push draconian measures like what we're seeing now to get to hold their allopathic grip on society. So I like to think that our profession needs to rise. We need leaders in our profession to speak truth in this time, to get to speak our chiropractic message now more than ever before. We are the second. We are second century chiropractors. We need to stand our ground to push our profession for the next 100 years, because the time is now, and we need chiropractors. I mean, we focus on the backbone, but where's our backbone, chiros? If you're listening, where's your backbone? Straighten that backbone and speak your truth. Yeah, you're going to get people pissed off at you, but you're going to resonate with so many more people. And we don't let the negative few ruin the positive many. You're going to have negative comments. You're going to have negative reviews. I got other chiros. I'm like, gosh, why aren't you coming down with me? Stand your ground. He's like, well, I'm making a business decision. I'm going to wear my mask and I'm going to comply with this because I don't want to lose patients. Well, I mean, I'm willing to sacrifice my practice. I'm willing to sacrifice my career. This is a hill that I'm willing to die on because I know that this is truth. We are on the side of truth. We are on the right side of history. We need to be able to speak our grounds. In order for this profession to survive, we need to be able to push through. I don't want to survive. I want to thrive. I want to see this profession thriving. I want the people to understand the message that we have to offer. Okay, whether or not they get under my care or not, I could care less. But I hope they get this message that your body was fearfully and wonderfully made, that you have an immune system fully capable of healing anything if you give the body what it needs. And I see this profession thriving like never before, as long as we get chiros willing to stand up and speak their message.
You know, the thing that I love about what you just shared is everybody constantly wants to know what's in it for me. And that's the world we live in. What have you done for me lately? What's in it for me? And what happens when you don't do it for you? Mm-hmm. What happens when you don't do it for us? Mm-hmm. That's when you have your doors open and you wear your little mask and you allow people to come in, and then they tell you, oh, by the way, you can't practice anymore unless you get this vaccine. Mm-hmm. And you got to wear your mask.
Right.
Well, what happens then? Are you going to then stay silent and wear your mask? Or are you then going to stand up with Dr. Ben Tapper and go down to your assembly hall and tell people, hell no, I won't go, and actually start standing for something? And I think that right now we're at that crossroads of faith and hope and future. And so many people right now don't know who to trust. It goes back to marketing. Know, like, and trust. Well, we know that we don't like the pharmaceutical industry. We know we don't trust them. And we know that it's a false flag that people feel like they have to have an outside-in perspective to keep them healthy. Mm-hmm. And now we have like the old school marketing stance is know, like, and trust. Well, what'd you say? The next generation is not going to know, like, and trust what's happening on mainstream media. They're not going to know, like, and trust what's happening in politics. They're not going to have know, like, and trust for the leaders that are being appointed that we're being basically funnel systemed into. What people don't realize is that political systems is a big funnel system. And it's based on popularity of polling and surveying. And that's how people get appointed to make these big decisions that have a downstream effect on all of us. It's not saying, hey, I'm a right, left, or center. It's this is the person that you're going to pick, and this is the agenda that they're going to follow. And that's what we get indoctrinated with. And that's why every grocery store you go to has a shot available. And every gas station you go to, you get 20 cents off of a gallon if you get a shot. And that's why everything on TV is not what we want to be consuming, but that's what they want to force on us. So I think what you said is so spot on when it comes to, I'm willing to die on this hill. Mm-hmm. And I think so many people don't have that same stance, and that's why they will get bulldozed over with their inability to speak up for themselves and to stand for something.
Right. And the thing is, I speak out not because I want to do this. I speak out because I speak out for my children, my children's children, because I understand that our freedoms will be eradicated eventually if we do not stand our ground and speak our truth. And it's concerning to me. And I'm afraid that you are right, that the majority of chiros and other people will probably just be bulldozed over and comply to this unless we speak our ground. There's power in numbers. And as long as we just band together and just preach the same unified message of chiropractic or whatever it may be, just speak our truth and with integrity, we will earn the trust of the people.
Amen.
So what would be some advice that you might give to a struggling chiropractic student right now? And do you think they should pick their schools based on geography?
Well, if they're a struggling chiropractic student, I mean, there's a lot of variables there. Are they struggling academically? Are they struggling on a philosophical level? There's a lot of different struggles that can occur during chiropractic school. But let's just say that they're struggling on a philosophical level. I think you need to find a chiropractic school, visit all the chiro schools, visit which one resonates with you, talk to the students. I mean, it's been a decade since I've been in chiropractic school, so there's a lot that can occur in a decade. Teachers leave, some pioneer teachers that have been there for years, legends leave. I would talk to the students, get a good grasp of what's happening. Go out and visit other chiro clinics. Find a clinic that resonates with you. Find a clinic that you want. Find a doc that you resonate with. Get under his wing. Learn from them. There's the 3 pillars of chiropractic, the science, art, and philosophy. You need to understand each pillar of the profession very well. I mean, chiro school is all about studying in books and books and books and learning and learning and learning. But once you get out in the field, you have to apply that knowledge and learn the art of adjusting. I met some terrible adjusters that are in this field, they're in this town, that are still practicing. And I'm like, I can't believe this guy's in practice. He can't even adjust. It's a terrible adjuster. And I'm just like, what in the fohize? And they're busy. I'm like, oh my gosh. So they're very strong in a philosophical standpoint, but they can't adjust. And so I think if you want to be super successful in what you do and get people well and see miracles in your practice, you need to understand the pillars of chiropractic and really spend time in each area. Become a master of your art, master of your philosophy, and a master of the science, and you will be a phenomenal chiropractor. And I think you need to be able to communicate those messages well. When I say a master, all those funnel into communicating your message, and the people will come see you.
So let's talk about you personally a little bit. What kind of things do you do for fun? What are your hobbies? What do you read? What do you listen to?
Well, I am a Christian. I feel like I am an empty vessel without the Lord, and I think that it's very important. We are designed to have a relationship with Him, and I think that that's the whole purpose why I believe we were created. So I spend a lot of time, with God on my mind and my thoughts and my prayers during the day. Again, I'm not a saint by any means. We're saved by grace, and I'm thankful for that. I spend a lot of time with my family. That's my favorite pastime. I have 4 kids, my wife. I think the older I get, the more I realize that I want freedom over my time. When I got into practice, I wanted to see 500 patients a week, and I wanted to be the busiest chiropractor. Now I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to see this many people. I just want to be with my family. I want to be with my kids. I want freedom over my time. And my ultimate goal is probably just to practice 1 day a week and spend time with my kids while they're young. I even contemplate on selling my practice and just hitting the road in a schoolie with my kids and just create as many memories as I possibly can. So that's my favorite pastime. I like to hunt. I like to fish. I like to spend time outdoors. I don't watch TV. I think it's poison. I do read a lot of books. I'm about 1,000 books behind. I do read in my free time. I have a lot of phenomenal books that I just purchased. The Creature on Jekyll Island's on my list to read. I've had a lot of patients tell me, you got to read that book. It's about the Federal Reserve and the creation of the Federal Reserve. I love Liberty Report with Ron Paul. I used to campaign for Ron Paul. Ron Paul is one of my heroes. He's an awesome, awesome patriot. He was a medical doctor, and I love Ron Paul. So I think people should listen to him, read his books, and the Fed, Liberty Report, the School Revolution. Those are all good books. And I'm also a competitive foosball player. I know that sounds super nerdy, but I do play competitive foosball. Yes, I consider it a sport. And it can be played on a crazy level that majority of people don't even realize. So...
Yep. So where can people go if they want more resources about you and what you're doing and maybe what other shows you're appearing on?
Well, I mean, I think I've been most active on my Instagram as of lately. Dr. just Dr. and then Ben Tapper, Tapper, Ben Tapper. Can't have a keg of beer unless you have a tapper. Just putting that out there. But Dr. Ben Tapper on Instagram. I do have a Twitter now that's blowing up. I don't post too much on there, but Twitter is just the same, but with a number 1 behind it. Facebook, just Ben Tapper. My wellness, my clinic page is thewellnesspoint.com. Point has an E at the end. But I'm just in Omaha, Nebraska. That's where I live, and that's where I practice. And so.
Well, I drive back from Colorado to Iowa at least a couple times a year. And the next time I come through your area, I'll definitely shoot you a message and see if we can't get together.
I love that, man. I'll take you out to lunch. Let's do that.
Yeah, I think our futures are going to cross paths more frequently. And really appreciate you spending some time with us today and sharing a lot of truth and a lot of value and standing up for this beautiful profession of chiropractic that we both serve.
Well, thank you for all you do, and I really, truly admire what you guys are doing. I assumed you guys were chiropractors, and to me, I think it's very honorable what you guys are doing for our profession, because you're not chiropractors, but you understand the message. And you have such a passion for what we do and what we stand for. And so I think the gratitude is to you, not to me. And I thank you for that, for what you're doing. And it's very honorable that you have a passion and a purpose for what we stand for.
Well, if there was any type of level of understanding, I believe that what Luke and I do is very devoted and very authentic. And you can't buy or sell us. And all we do is stand for truth on a day-to-day basis. And the chiropractic truth is one of those things that when Luke and I started doing creative work together, I said, hey, man, this is a message worth supporting. And that's when he helped me make our first film on chiropractic. And I was so blown away how much depth and knowledge and passion is in the chiropractic profession, and how much truth there is. And that's why what we do is we protect free speech in chiropractic with our show and with the work that we do. And I believe if we don't tell people the truth about chiropractic, then someday they will get misled with drugs or surgery. And it's our job to tell that truth, and it's our jobs to shine a spotlight on your message, which perpetuates the future of chiropractic in the direction we want to go in. And when they do, you said this next century of knowledge for chiropractic standing strong in the next 100 years, we're going to be in the history books. And Amen. We're going to be one of those things that people remembered as people that were crusaders for the passion and the truth of what this profession was evolved on and where we're going. So that's why I receive the words that you say to us about honoring us as non-being chiros for doing the work that we do, because it is very selfless. And sometimes I wonder, what the hell am I doing? But I do know that our message gets out to people, and that, we are getting better at becoming marketers. We are getting better at assembling the unification of the profession. And there is a big purpose behind our vision that we have right now, and that's to get everybody at least checked for vertebral subluxation, and then they can make the decision whether or not chiropractic is right for them.
Right. Well, thank you for all you do, guys, and I appreciate it. And I think that, I pray that you're right. In the next 100 years, people will look back, and they will. I mean, we keep doing what we're doing, keep speaking the message, people will look back, and they will look to you guys as a good resource for all the chiros that you've interviewed, all the time that you spent promoting the message. So thanks again.
Well, we'll let you get going so you can go serve your patients. But just know that we really appreciate you, and we want you to have a good rest of your day, okay?
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Dr. Ben. Have a good one.
Talk
you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.